Hey everybody, welcome back to 3 Generations Restoration. We got our Massey Harris 44 tractor in the shop ready for some engine work. We picked this up at an auction in June and I have a video of that. I'll put that link in the description of when we bought it. But here's the kicker. When you're at an auction and they say the tractor runs good, like the tag here, runs good. You always got to be careful because they start the tractor, run it for maybe 10 seconds and shut it off. We got this thing home and we really got it running, drove it. The water pump is shot. It's shooting oil out of the weep hole and water out of the weep hole. And the tractor smokes like an absolute freight train when you run it. Now, I would show you what it ran like, but I took 4 of the push rods out of this tractor to get our Massey Harris 44 Special running good. I'll put that link in the description as well. They're the same exact push rods as a 44 Special, so we used out of this one while we were waiting. We got 4 brand new push rods or used ones for this, but nonetheless we got to take the engine apart and do piston rings. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to pull the engine apart, assess the damage, and go from there. So let's go ahead, get started. Pull the hood off. So I pulled the muffler off, I pulled the air breather off, and I pulled the radiator cap off. Let's go ahead and pick this up out here. Alright, got it. Set this to the side. Now we were already in here before, like I said, to get the push rods out, so that's why you'll see all this stuff is loose. We'll probably leave the valve cover on until we get the coolant drain and probably the muffler off, probably the air breather off, and then we'll go ahead and take this. I want to prevent as much dirt from entering the engine as possible, so I think we'll probably start with getting the coolant drained out of it. So we'll go from there. So we pretty much drained the coolant out. We got a little bit just kind of dripping right now. One thing I was going to take the plug out of the block, and I'm telling you guys, this thing was, I didn't even put like an inch-pound of force on that. It wasn't even hardly on. Look at that. You can tell it's been broke for a while. But it'll be low enough where I can get the head off. So we're starting up at the thermostat housing. I loosened all the bolts. They should all be loose. We're all out. Probably just slowly take them a little more out. They're all pretty rusty. 3 of them, 9/16. And then I loosened up the 2 clamps for the top of the radiator. Might have to get a pair of channel locks real quick. All right, there we go. I kind of had to just jam it a little bit, but looking pretty rusty in there. Wow, look at that. Look at the end of the radiator. That ain't no good, guys. Here's the thermostat, covered in rust. That doesn't look too bad. Pretty rusty in there. All right, well, had to take it off. I'm sure we could probably make some sort of a sleeve for up there. Next step, get this air breather off. All right, so we're taking the air breather off right now. 2 9/16 bolts on the end of the engine block over by me.
Let's see what you got.
2 bolts here, hold it on. The tube is already off, never came with the tractor. Set that on the bench. I'll just put these bolts back in the end of the head. That way we know where they go. All right, next step is gonna be to remove the manifold. And I'm probably gonna start with all this stuff down at the carburetor, the fuel line, the throttle linkage, and the choke linkage. But I also want to mention too that we got to be really extra careful with this because we got some cracking that happened here at one time. So that ear is gonna be most likely busted off, but we're just gonna need to be real careful with the rest of this. So while I'm doing this, I'll soak all this in PB Blaster. We'll let it sit while this will probably take me a little bit of time to disconnect, so we'll spray that off. All right, so my grandpa had a good idea. This carburetor was rebuilt by the looks of it a while ago, and the tractor ran and it ran fine. So we're just gonna take the 2 bolts that hold it on, and we're just gonna drop the carb down because all we're doing are putting rings in this thing. So get the 2 nuts off and just pop it down. There we go. Carburetor's off the manifold now. Go ahead and get the manifold off. And like I was mentioning, we gotta be extra careful. Okay. I just want to see if all of these are gonna come off. That one's good. I currently have this gun on the lowest setting possible. You can kind of tell it is too. Whoop. Okay. All right, I think I can take them all out now. Oh yeah. All right, I'm gonna take them all out now. You wanna hold these? All right, here's the last one, and the last one takes the whole stud out.
Got a washer.
Yep, got one more washer in here, I forgot. All right, set this gun on the ground. See what happens here. Probably gonna have to hit it with a hammer. Well, there's a bolt that's up in the middle here. It's actually better to see it through here, up here. There's one bolt that's right down in there. What a terrible spot. I think I got it to go a little. Oh yeah. There we go.
There, right there. Now you should go get it.
Has to be going.
Yeah, it does. Hook that wrench into it now if you have to. Easier than hitting
it. Wow, is this thing tight. Slowly but surely, this last bolt is coming out.
Is it pretty easy to get out?
No.
Looks like it's in a nice...
I'm sure I got black all over my face. It's getting better and better. There.
Need someone to hold the manifold?
No, it'll stay on the
Studs.
There we go. Wow, this thing sucks. Sorry, Massey Harris, but your design sucks. All right, that bottom bolt is out and it didn't break surprisingly. Go ahead and set this on the bench, along with the one ear that broke off. All right. Whew. That bolt, guys, sucks. It sucks. You can tell this thing was burning oil on this cylinder and this cylinder. These two were working good, but these two weren't working very good. So now that we got all this off, I'll probably pull this little temperature gauge out, get that out of the way, and then we'll pull the valve cover off. So I'll get this and then I'll show you guys when the valve cover comes off. All right, so I just got the manifold off. These 3 bolts or nuts are already off. Slide the cover off. So you'll be able to see that we're currently missing a couple push rods. Those are the ones that we ended up taking. But everything else seems to look okay. Pretty rusty in here. We actually had these, yeah, so we'll take, what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna take all 4 of the rocker arm bolts out. So we'll go ahead and get all these bolts out here. Like I said before, these were all loose. That one's out. I have a feeling we're gonna have a couple stuck valves.
Just want one small blue one.
Yeah, it's fine. Here's the last one. All right, once you get these out, you guys are gonna wanna be working on your own Massey 44. You're gonna wanna be extra careful that you don't lose all of the valve. There's like these little cups that go on top of the valves. Get all these bolts out. And then I'll show you. See these cups here? I'll pull this one up a little bit, but these could easily go down in the engine. You don't want that. So just take them all off. Get them out of the way, and then we can go ahead and pull the rest of these bolts. Just like that. Pull the rocker arm off. Just like that. We will set this on the table. This is gonna need pretty clean. It's pretty rusty. Everything moves good though. So we got 4 push rods left in the engine. We got a little marker. Give it a little shake to keep it out of the lifter. Now I know we're getting 4 newer ones, but it's good to keep these ones in order the way that they were at. All right. Let's see, before we even take the head off, let's see how the valves are, if they're stuck or if they're not. Just give them a little tap. All right, every valve is free. So now, what we're gonna do, there's 2 bolts back here that we're gonna need to loosen. We got all the head bolts up here to loosen, and then there's a few up here. So we're gonna go ahead and do that. Get this head broke free, hopefully, off the engine block. And then it's onto the oil pan. So let's go ahead and get this off. Alright, so we're getting ready to change the oil. Well, actually not change it, but get the oil in a bucket so we can take the oil pan off. We took the little stabilizer bar off for the front end, and I ended up breaking the one square-headed bolt here. But what's good is that the bolt is flush off. We'll heat that up, put a pipe wrench on it, and get it out. But let's go ahead and drain the oil. It is a inch and an eighth wrench, and I've already got it loose. So we'll let this, look at that, oh yeah. We'll let this oil drain out for a good 10 minutes, and then I'll go ahead and take all the pan bolts out, and we'll drop the pan. We're getting there, we're getting closer to the pistons coming out. All right, so I got most of the oil pan bolts out. They're just 9/16 socket bolts. I got, looks like a lock that stayed up there. I got one bolt left, one bolt is still in loose. So let's go ahead and get this one off. And the pan is, I think, all right, so hold on a minute. All right, I'm gonna get this last bolt out.
Hand me that.
All right, here comes the oil pan. Nice and easy. All right, there's a good look up into the tractor. You got all the rods, a little different than the the 300 we just did. A little bit bigger of an engine, I think. So we're gonna have to go ahead. We're gonna have to remove this dipstick, crank the engine over. It looks like I can probably get to 2 and 3 right now. So I might loosen those up, and I might just knock those out. Maybe I'll turn the engine over a little bit more to get a better access, but we'll go ahead and we'll pop these out now. So we got the caps of piston 1 and piston 4 loose. So we're gonna go ahead and pull them off as I get oil dripped on my head. Just like the last tractor. Go ahead and keep the bolts with the same one. We're gonna take this off nice and slow. And we're gonna keep the bearing face toward the front right now. So we're gonna set it just like that, that being forward. And then I should be able to, yep, push this out. And here comes the other bearing. Yeah, you could probably go up to the top. I gotta need a, ooh, look at that bearing. That's
push it up and then, all right. Okay, more. Okay, now you want to come up here.
All right, so here is cylinder 4, and there's actually, you can see the number here on the piston. So that's what's good about it. I don't know why someone put cylinder 1 and cylinder 3, but we'll pull this out, and we're gonna keep it just the way it is. This is the way it faces toward the engine, or the smaller part of the end of the rod faces toward me, the side of the manifold. So we'll go like this, and we'll set it like that. So that'll face toward the engine. I'll grab the rod cap and bolt. Toward the front. Okay, this is toward the front, so this would go like this. And I'm just gonna put, nope, goes like this, so it goes on one way. I'm just gonna put the bolts in it to keep it in the same spot. But I also wanted to show you guys this one bearing here. Look at the end of it. Completely just missing, so. But, I mean, down here too ain't looking too hot. Those will need replaced for sure. So we'll continue with cylinder 1 now. All right, so you saw us remove cylinder number 4's piston. Same process for the other 3. I'm not going to show it because it's just the same. we'll pop them out and I'll show you what we got on the table when they're all out. And then we got to take the water pump off this thing. So once we get the pistons out, we'll worry about the water pump. So go ahead and get those out and meet you right back here. All right, guys, so all 4 pistons are out of the tractor. And one thing we noticed was someone was in this engine before because they put piston 3. They put cylinder 1's piston in cylinder 3 and they swapped them essentially. We got a couple bearings that got some abnormal wear here. We got chunks out of them. The journals on the crankshaft don't look too bad. You can see that there. We got lucky there. I'm assuming all that metal got in the filter, which we're going to change. Look at that big chunk right there. So we're going to get new bearings, new rings. But the next thing we're doing on here is we're pulling the water pump out of it. There's an actual rust hole in the side over here. Might be easier for you to see right here. There's an actual rust hole right there, which is no good. That's just supposed to be a little weep hole, but it's rusted out way larger than it should be. So we're gonna loosen the generator. We're gonna pop that up, take the belt off, and take all those bolts out, pop the water pump off, hopefully. So I'll loosen the generator and then we'll pop the water pump off next. All right, so I got all the nuts off the water pump and I loosened the generator. The belt is loose as well, so we'll go ahead and pry this thing off. See all the antifreeze coming off with it as well. Slowly but surely, she's coming off. There we go. Here's a problem we might have. I don't know if we're gonna be able to sneak this thing out of here. There we go. All right, everybody, so we got the water pump off. We had to move the radiator just ahead a little bit, just on 4 bolts held it on. You can kind of tell now, there's the hole that rusted through, and you can see the propeller, the impeller is pretty rusty. We'll replace this as well, but nonetheless, the tractor's all apart, ready to order parts, which we're gonna end up doing tonight. So this engine is a standard bore engine still, and it is standard bore bearings, so we're going to order accordingly. Table filled up fast with parts. We'll have to go ahead and clean a lot of this stuff and get it ready to go to assemble the tractor. So it's time to order some parts, but we'll catch you guys on the next video. If you like videos where we tear down engines and inspect, and if you like videos where we reassemble engines, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, guys.